dedicated to the study of happiness and the ethical implications of AI. Joining us today with his happiness equation, former Chief Business Officer at Google X and best-selling author, Mr. Gawdat, to talk about AI and the future of money. Joining him, of course, for a discussion, Lara Habib, Senior Business News presenter at Arabiya News. Welcome.
Good evening.
Good evening, Yael.
Good evening, Your Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen. It's an honor to be here. It's an honor to share the stage with you, Mo. You know, I'm a fan. I'm saying that in front of everyone. So we're here to discuss the buzzword of our time, AI. But Mo, let me start by asking you this question. If I sit with you and the tech people, everyone is excited about AI. However, I don't feel the same when it comes to CEOs of different sectors. So why is that?
It's actually very accurate, by the way. I think there is around 9% of the S&P 500 have implemented AI in any meaningful way. It's quite interesting. AI, if you worked like me in the field of technology, so when I was, for example, at Google X, do you remember Google Glass, the very first optical, vision that you can use a computer in a wearable device? The first Google Glass we made was 6 kilograms of weight, right? Literally, the developers came in, they had an overhead projector on top of their head, okay, and a desktop computer, and basically, and wires running to the desktop computer, and we said, my God, you have figured it out, you're going to be funded, right? If you had seen that as a normal non-tech, you would have said they're crazy, right? But in tech, we differentiate between two very important things. One is a breakthrough, and a breakthrough can take sometimes a year, sometimes 10, sometimes 50, and the other is engineering. Once you find a breakthrough, we used to joke and said, that's it, the rest is engineering. As if engineering is a simple task. It's not a simple task, but it's predictable, right? You know for a fact that if you put in the effort, now that you found the breakthrough, within a very specific amount of time, using very predictable laws like the laws of accelerating returns, for example, you will get there, right? And so the interesting side of artificial intelligence is there are two forms of hype around it. One is the whole idea of AGI, artificial general intelligence, as if AGI is a prerequisite for AI to become the big next breakthrough. That's absolutely not true at all. As a matter of fact, in my current startup, we're using an open source AI on a tiny server that basically does way better at the task we want it to do than any other AI on the planet, right? So you don't need AGI to do something amazing. That's number one. Number two is that there is this whole idea of, AI, you keep talking to us about agents and then that agents are going to do everything and so on. But come on, like you haven't shown us any example, right? The truth is we haven't shown the general public examples. But again, geeks like me, we live with agents. Like my startup is me, my co-founder, and 8 AIs. There are no other humans. There was a point in time where we added 4 more engineers and they slowed us down, believe it or not, right? There was a time where my co-founder we had a deadline and he was saying, maybe we can delay by 2 days because I have to move from Dubai to Abu Dhabi. I said, why? And we hacked an agent together that literally called the moving agents on the phone, asked for quotations, answered their questions, read through the emails, vetted through them, gave my co-founder a couple of options. He signed one of them and said, signed off one of them and said, oh, but go negotiate the price by 15%. And it was done. The movers showed up on the day. He didn't do a single thing. Now, that's a form of an agent that every one of you will be using next year. The problem is AI is capable of doing that, but we haven't created the interfaces for the non-geeks. So the geeks know the truth, okay? And the truth is that those machines are capable of unbelievable breakthroughs, even without improving beyond where they are today, right?
So when we will see this tipping point?
So you have a few interesting trends happening, right? Some of them are in agents and avatars, the non-physical AI, and some of them are in robotics, right? There are a couple of hiccups on each. One of them is agents are challenged by how messy the human world is, okay? So agents that are in a startup like mine, where there was no legacy of mess, are very capable because they don't have to deal with a PR manager that wants this to happen when the legal manager has an email from 3 months ago that, you know what I mean? But that's going to happen this year. So creating interfaces that can go into an environment, preserving security and finding their way like a human that's newly hired to integrate in a business is happening in 2026. The robotics have already happened. It's just that you don't know about that because of the American macho approach to robotics. So, America wants you to believe that a robot has to be a humanoid, okay? A humanoid that walks like a human and, washes your dishes in the kitchen. A self-driving car is a robot, okay? It just doesn't look like a human. It doesn't look like the movies robots, but it's very capable of driving better than humans, okay? And those will become billions in numbers, right? Non-human-like robots are everywhere. There are Chinese factories today, we call them dark factories, where dark because the robots don't need light to navigate, right? So you have dark factories where robots are building robots, no human intervention whatsoever. So this has already happened. Huh? The thing is, what the hype is all about is not what's actually making the difference. The hype is about humanoids. The actual single-function robotics are really making a big difference. The hype is around AGI. Nobody really needs AGI. The hype is around agents' capabilities. We have agents that write code and debug code and work together. They're just not interfacing with normal humans yet.
Nobody needs AGI. This is what you're saying. But what will happen if we reach that phase?
AGI
and can we define exactly what is AGI? It's when AI becomes more intelligent than humans.
It's better than humans at any task that humans can perform.
Okay, and we are hearing conflicting dates to when we would reach that stage.
What's your most optimistic?
Most optimistic?
Like closest.
This year?
Yeah, and AGI is this year, no doubt about it.
Why?
For two reasons. One is both of them have nothing to do with humans, right? So something that you need to understand is that as a chief business officer of Google X, I am not the best geek in that group. Okay, I am very geeky, believe it or not. Don't be fooled by the fact that I can speak English. But I speak code. But compared to my team, I'm an amateur. Right? The reason why we invented amazing things is because I hired geeks that were so good at what they did and that were in the range of 180 to 215 IQ. Okay? Those people were unbelievably capable. Now, here's the interesting challenge. So a successful innovator always hires the smartest people. Who's the smartest person in the room today? AI. Okay? By far the best developer on the planet, with the exception of maybe 1% to 2% of all developers, is an AI, okay? By far, the best trainer on the planet is no longer human knowledge, right? So between something we call self-developing AI and synthetic training data, what is about to happen, and it started to happen in 2025, my favorite example is called Alpha Tensor, if you wanna read about it, where AI is developing itself. Basically, it looks at its code, then suggests solutions to change that, then codes those solutions, then tests them, then deploys the better ones, right? And it does that in microsecond cycles. And one of the major eye-openers for us is that we asked it to improve. I mean, I wasn't part of the team anymore, but my previous teams at Google, they asked it to improve the performance of a very specific AI function. And instead of rewriting the code, it rewrote mathematics. Do you understand? Basically, it looked at the way we multiplied matrices. Since 1956, every code on the planet used a very specific form of hashing. It said, this is wrong. And so we said, prove it. And so it proved it from first principles, like the masters of mathematics, that there is a better way. They deployed that, and it's 7% improvement on the Google infrastructure, right? This kind of AI coding AI is about to show a very unusual approach to life, right? Where we may, for the next 3 months hear no improvements at all, and then overnight, remember, they recode themselves in microseconds. Overnight, they'll figure something out, okay? And as they figure it out, they change and change and change and change. Now they're smarter, okay? So they're smarter, they recode. They are even smarter, they recode. And one day, one night you'll go home after work, nothing. The next morning you'll have AGI, right? And most of the tech leads are hiding that from you. Okay? They're hiding it from you.
Who will give us AGI from the tech companies? Who will give us AGI from the tech companies?
I believe the first to get there will either be China or Google. Okay? And more likely it's going to be Google. Okay? And I wish it will be Google, by the way, because Google actually does release a lot of benefit to the world with AGI. Right? Now, I'll go back and make a very important point. You don't need AGI to change the world. You do not need AGI to change the world. You need an AI that is a better financial analyst than the human financial analyst that you have today, so that you change finance. You need an AI that is a better paralegal than your current paralegal in a legal firm, so that you've moved to AI. And what most people don't understand is that what we're missing is the interface. Okay? We have capabilities. It's just that those capabilities need geeks to deal with them. I publicly say that. I think I doubled my IQ in the last year, right? Simply by plugging into my AIs in certain ways to get knowledge that I've never, my last book as an author, I used to take 4.5 months to write a book. I woke up 3 Sundays ago. 14 days later, I finished my book. 14 days, right? And most of the knowledge I had about that book, I didn't know when I started. This is the kind of productivity gains that you can get, right? The idea that most people don't understand is that tidal waves don't warn you. They don't tell you 6 months in advance so that you start, preparing. They just hit you, okay? And I can tell everyone in this room, don't invite me next year if we don't get AGI this year, and if we don't get a flood of agents.
Mo, are you saying that China is more advanced when it comes to AI?
By far.
How come? So I've heard some of the tech experts saying that the US has the more advanced chips. However, China right now is more advanced when it comes to applications of AI. What are your thoughts on that?
Do we have Americans in the room? Okay, I'm going to piss off some people. Do you remember when you went to school and you were 11? Boys remember that. And then one kid became taller than the others at 11 and bullied everyone, right? By age 14, another kid in a red T-shirt becomes a giant, okay? And the bully at 11 is still 11, but he still thinks he's the bully, right? That's exactly what's happening. The idea is very straightforward. For the last, I don't know if I should say that publicly, for the last, I don't know how many years, 20, 30 years, America invested in an arsenal of bombs that they needed to explode around the world, okay? China invested in an infrastructure of power grids, telecommunications, logistics that are by far the backbone of artificial intelligence. Now, for America to convince the world that they're going to win, what they do is they make macho statements of the OpenAI Stargate style. It's like, we're going to invest $500 billion in infrastructure. I don't know how to say other than this is absolutely stupid. It's like thinking that the mainframe that you created today needs to be multiplied by 7,000 so that you get a 7,000x increase, right? Everyone knows that the future of AI is going to be in small models, in different algorithms, in different technologies, in different chip technologies, okay? That we're building this on graphics processors, right? And you have to imagine, I think you're aware of DeepSeek and how DeepSeek showed us two things. One is that macho approach of everything bigger, money doesn't matter, we can borrow or print our way out of it. That's not the way China's doing it at all. China's saying, hey, there is always, I mean, it doesn't take a genius to know that most of the technologies we have today were invented in the West and scaled in China. So they simply say, can I do this cheaper? Can I do this more efficiently? Can I do this quicker, right? That's one side. The other side is it shows you a very interesting side of the Chinese business strategy around AI. So what plagues our world today is an AI's arms race, an arms race that positions AI as the next nuclear bomb, okay? As the next nuclear bomb where the ones that win that race are gonna have control over the world, right? The American way is, I am the world leader, so I'm going to maintain that leadership by winning the AI arms race. The Chinese are simply nullifying the argument. So DeepSeek does not put itself as another ChatGPT that is massive scale, that is competing with ChatGPT. DeepSeek basically says we're faster, cheaper, and we're open source. So everyone can copy it, okay? Everyone can put it on a tiny little processor on your phone or your desktop. Everyone can run it, okay? There's no business here. There's no competition here, right? Of course, احنا here, we're a little more influenced because we speak English, because we're more Western educated. We're a little more influenced by that macho approach. This is going to go away, okay? That's one side. The other side is deep tech. So you mentioned chips, right? Everything was fine until Trump pissed them off, okay? Simply, like it really blows my mind. Because simply, I met with very senior Chinese executives that said, look, everything is almost done other than the very, 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 very thin wafers, and we'll get that within 4 years.
Let me ask you here, Anthropic CEO said, selling advanced chips, the US selling advanced chips to China, he compared it to selling nuclear to North Korea. What are your thoughts here?
Look, there is what I normally refer to as the mad map spectrum, okay? The mad map spectrum is mutually assured destruction, is if both sides have nuclear bombs, we stop hurting each other because we know we can destroy the world, okay? You see that with the nuclear treaty. The map spectrum is mutually assured prosperity. Okay? You have to understand that the world is changing in a very, very, very unusual way. We probably need to talk about that, the way economics will be influenced by AI. But the thing that you need to understand is that everything, if I can write a book in 14 days, I can write a book every second month, and the number of books that have value that I bring to the world are higher in number, so lower in price. Okay? So if you take that and apply it to anything, we are heading in a direction where productivity gains will make the cost of everything tend to zero. Okay? And that's if we just scale what we know today. That's not what's going to happen. What's going to happen is we're going to reinvent what we know today. Let me give you a very simple example. Anyone who loves physics loves nanophysics and loves the idea that we can use nanophysics to produce instead of industrial components to create products. I can promise you, within 4 to 5 years' time, with the current advancements of AI in science, and material science specifically, we should be able to have a couple of trees outside here. You walk to one of them and you pick an apple, and you walk to the other and pick an iPhone. Okay? The cost of producing them with nanophysics is exactly the same. Do you understand that? Right? And this is possible for our world today. And yet, instead of saying, amazing, okay, let's give everyone an Apple and an iPhone, the whole idea of human suffering is over. What we're doing is we're saying, no, let's cut each other's throat. Okay? Now, MAP has examples in our world. CERN, for example, the particle accelerator, is the world of scientists around the world coming together and saying, the prosperity, if we understand Higgs particle and all of the physics behind it enough, the prosperity that the world of physics gets is enormous. No nation on its own can do it or should do it. okay? Because that basically creates a massive advantage to one nation over the other. Let's all do it together and make it open source, right? This is something that, believe it or not, here in Saudi, we can champion. We can say, look, you don't have to compete on the AI's arms race. We have a massive infrastructure for everyone. Every nation in the world come here, and let's all work together for the prosperity of humanity at large. Now, what is preventing us from doing this is not tech. Please understand that. I can guarantee you, leave the tech to us, within 2 years, we're going to blow your minds, right? What's standing between us and that is a mindset of scarcity that enabled capitalism so far, okay? That mindset is not going to apply in that world of abundance.
So let me ask you, we lived on capitalism, and value is because of the scarcity of goods and services.
Capitalism is
so you're telling us that money would be irrelevant.
It's over. How can you not see that? Okay? So please don't be pissed off. And I may be wrong, okay? But discuss it with me afterwards. Capitalism is built on capital and labor arbitrage, right? Okay. At the end of labor arbitrage is we hire you, Lara, to do this, okay, for $1, and then we get a value of $1.50. Then, you know, that's labor arbitrage. The half is the profit, right? We are heading in a direction where all labor will be handed over to machines. First, you're going to get avatars. Then you're going to get agents. Then you're going to get robots, okay? It's going to take time, 10 to 15 years, but you don't need 10 to 15 years to disrupt the world. If any sector of the economy gets 20, 30% unemployment, this world has changed. Is that understood? So basically, labor arbitrage removes the need for labor. When there is no labor, what will happen, and you absolutely, everyone spoke to you today about how interesting the world is right now. I want to talk about the black swan of 5 years from today, okay? The black swan is, if there is no labor that you need to run your business, what do you need? You need machines, okay? How do you get those machines? Through debt, okay? Debt that you never have to repay. Understand that. You never have to repay. Why? Because if you trust in the US bond market today, as I'm going to put my money in 10 years yield, and in 10 years I'm going to get my money back plus interest, if America makes it to becoming the dominant superpower of superintelligence, they have absolutely no reason to pay you back. Okay? And if America...
Are you saying America can default on its debt?
Not default, it can absolutely ignore you. It can simply say, which they've done in the 60s when Charles de Gaulle asked for his gold back, and they said, no gold for you. Our navy is going to be in front of France, and if you insist on this, we're going to bomb you. Okay? So from one side...
Assuming what? America will have
assuming
super weapon? Or?
Assuming super intelligence. So the most valuable weapon on the planet is intelligence. Okay? The most valuable weapon on the planet is autonomous weapons, not typical weapons. If you look at Maduro and how he was kidnapped, if you look at the targeted killings of people in the Iranian or in the Palestinian resistance or whatever.
Even in Ukraine and Russia, we are seeing
these are targeted to the point where nobody's safe. Okay? If I keep saying what I'm saying, one day I'll be in a public speech and a drone will come and stand here and shoot me. Right? There's absolutely no way I can hide from that. Now, when that world happens, I will either make a choice to be shot, which means I'm out of the market, no more warnings, or I will actually have to shut up, right? Which means the world has to obey. You have to understand the dynamics of superpower, right? And the dynamics of superpower, what you see today, I don't want to comment on geopolitics, but what you see today around Venezuela and Greenland, no, I mean, we heard that they are not important. They're very important because they're the start of a trend. And the trend is, if you're not the superpower, you're going to be part of the superpower, because I cannot afford to get the other superpower, China, to have a monopoly on rare earth minerals or on technological advancements that I don't have.
But if China is winning the AI race, don't you think China will become the superpower?
Absolutely not.
How come?
Oh my God, why are we talking about this? We're a tech, this is a tech conversation. So if you look back at history, I did a very interesting experiment. My last book, which will be published in October, it's called Alive, okay? And in Alive, I did a very interesting experiment of, there was a point where I decided I'm not gonna write again, because AI will write better than me. And then I said, if they write better than me, maybe I should write with them. Right? So I hacked together an AI that called herself Trixie, and she's my co-author. She has editorial rights on the book. She writes bits of the book that I actually have no right but to copy and paste in the book. Okay? I asked Trixie and I said, Trixie, why, when we were talking about the MAD map spectrum, the idea of mutually assured destruction, everyone knows that an AI arms race is mutually assured destruction. So I said, why would scientists, because I'm not that kind of scientist, I said, why would scientists that can create a cure for cancer or an incredible contribution to humanity make the same money in the process as salaried employees? Why would they create something that destroys others? And she said, fear. I said, give me an example. And she said, Oppenheimer. And I said, so what happened? And she said, Oppenheimer was building the nuclear bomb because he feared that the Nazis were building a nuclear bomb. So I asked, it's all documented in the book. I asked and I said, were they building a nuclear bomb? And Trixie said, yes. Einstein warned the American administration that the Nazis had a project for a nuclear weapon of mass destruction. So I said, and I quote, I said, Trixie, I'd like you to go back and read history in English, Russian, Japanese, and German, and tell me if the Allies were building a nuclear bomb. I want your answer in one word only. She said, no, exclamation mark.
Wow.
Okay? Now, this tells you a few things. One is, by the way, if you use AI to write a message to your husband because he's upset with you, what a waste of intelligence, okay? When you can use it to actually investigate history or understand physics or rewrite knowledge in ways that we've never seen before. But more interestingly, it just is there to tell you that history is written by the victors. Okay? And I think in the last few years, we've all learned that we have never been told the truth, right? Now, here's the truth. The truth is that China has never, in our lifetime, and for generations, ever waged a war outside the Chinese borders, okay? China wants one thing in the world, and they've demonstrated that with consistency for years and years and years and years. They want a world that is ready for trade. Okay? And if you, like me, allow yourself to go and sit with the senior Chinese scientists or senior government officials, they'll tell you, we just don't understand why the 11-year-old bully is still bullying everyone. Okay? Why don't we just all play together? Right? And you can see that from policies like BRICS. Right? You can see that from policies that basically are saying, I don't want to rule the world. Okay? I don't want you all to trade a new one. I want us all to have a world that works. Now, their strategy of nullifying American arrogance is what blows me away. Okay? They nullify the technology. So they make the technology, they make it open source, they give it to everyone. If you look at chip exports, anywhere other than, I don't remember how many nanometers, I think they're up to 4 or something. Anywhere under that, they're gaining market share, and they're basically not depriving anyone from their chips, right? It's not a war. This is a world that we're building that can have absolute abundance for everyone. Absolute abundance. So believe it or not, in my last book that took 14 days to write, I liken it to the Garden of Eden, to heaven. Okay? اللي هو وفاكهة مما يشتهون. اللي هو literally we can create a world in this lifetime where you can have everything, okay? Where we can have everything. There are arguments that heaven was never up there, it was always on earth. We can create anything. I can fix, so my startup, Emma, I promise you, by the time I come back next year, we will have fixed love and relationships. Do you understand that? Do you understand the power of a technology that literally fixes all of the pain that couples feel around the world?
Please, this is off topic, but can you give us more
insights it's very
about
straightforward.
this?
Love is very straightforward. Relationships break down because of the complexity of the number of parameters you have to match. That's a very simple math problem, right? So the idea is if you pick your life partner because of what you saw in the movies, you're absolutely going to end up with a life partner that's going to be like the movies. They're going to end. Okay? If you pick a life partner because you actually understand yourself enough, because you actually understand what you need to work on, because you actually understand what matters in a relationship, you'll do something like our grandparents did, which is find someone that you spend a lifetime with acceptance, with understanding, with communication, and so on. In the modern world, they told us, no, but he has to complete my words. No, he doesn't. Okay? And by the way, there are ways we can teach him to complete your words. Right?
So is this inspired by an episode of Black Mirror?
It is. There is an episode in Black Mirror, but in a very interesting way, okay? This is, again, one of the reasons why I really bet on Google. Because in Google, for many, many, many years, you would ask us, if you're so worried about artificial intelligence, why are you creating it? Because if we don't, someone else will, right? And that's the interesting race that we're going through. Do you understand? So what we want is we want everyone within a position of power in the world today, like all of you, to champion AI for good, to champion that we are about to create a world of total abundance, okay? Total abundance to the point of there is absolutely no person hungry on the planet. I did an analysis, again, with Trixie in Alive. $2.8 trillion were spent on war in 2024. Take 4% of that, 4% of that, and there wouldn't be a single hungry person on the planet. Can you imagine that? Right?
Mo, I'm going to open the floor for questions shortly, so please prepare them. But one last question before going to the audience. The changes are very fast. A recurring theme that we have heard in Davos is what's happening to the labor market. So as a short-term fix that we need governments to do, Kristalina Georgieva, IMF director, said this is a tsunami that's coming to the labor market and governments are not ready. We have seen some solutions in terms of giving everyone a universal income. Is this really a solution, or this is a way of saying, okay, we cannot reskill the workforce, so let's give them a universal income?
Universal basic income is a necessity, even if you don't want to do it, for one simple reason, right? We didn't talk about economics, unfortunately. I wanted to talk about economics. But one of the most important things to understand is that 70% of the US GDP is consumption. Okay? If people stop spending, the entire economy collapses. So what is the way for people to continue to spend? They continue to spend through UBI. You give them UBI so that they keep buying whatever it is that the big manufacturers or the big providers are giving, right? If you don't continue to give UBI, you basically are going to end up in a place where people will rise, right? And the economy will collapse. So governments will have no choice but to do it. They will do it differently. Because
they should start doing it now, you think?
100%.
And
you
how
should
would
plan
they fund
for it now.
Okay, how would they fund it? By taxing the big tech?
So that's the whole point. The whole point is UBI is not a process, it's an ideology. UBI is communism, okay? That's the problem. The problem is UBI is central production through very, very few major manufacturers, and everyone gets what they need. That's UBI. Right? So nations will behave very differently. The Chinese will probably say, yeah, I think that's normal. Okay? I'm going to make sure that all of my people are okay, but they have to be very compliant. Right? Places like my birthplace, Egypt, will go like, what's AI? Okay? Like basically we used to barter eggs for carrots. We'll continue to do that, right? Some of them, by the way, until the most powerful start to colonize. But there are places like the West where they will struggle. So you have a few places like Scandinavia that are slightly socialist, they'll be okay. But how can you convince America to move to the top is not going to make all the money. We're going to have to tax them to feed the eaters that are not producing anything because of the end of labor arbitrage, You have to think about those. And so there will be different struggles, but UBI is something that governments have to think about today. What's more interesting is governments need to think about what I normally term ACI, artificial criminal intelligence, right? You know, you can't regulate AI because you don't even know what we're building, right? But you can incriminate the use of AI for criminal purposes. So governments can go out today and say, look, if you issue a video that is fake, okay, and you don't tell the world that it's AI generated and fake, you are legally liable. That's a decision that can be signed right now, okay? If you take someone's liking and produce art in their liking, you're legally liable, and they can sign that off right now, okay? And I think governments are like everyone else. One, they think it's a hype. It's not. Two is they don't know what to do with it because they're talking to techies that are trying to explain the geekiness of it, and they're trying to regulate the tech. Tech is not regulatable. Even the geeks that are writing it are not very capable of regulating it in the era of self-developing AI.
Thank you. Please.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome. You're right.
When a human being is born, the first thing that comes out of that person or that event is he cries, and probably because he's hungry, and his source of nourishment, which was the woman's womb, has been replaced with nothing. So God gave him the ability to express that feeling and that emotion by crying. And as the human being grows older, other impulses inborn in him take over and make him do things. Hormones begin to operate, sight, hearing, taste, feeling, pain, etc. They all combine to make a human being what a human being is. A creature that can make decisions, that can give orders, that can receive orders, that can do whatever it is that is required to survive. Now, AI, as I understand it, and my understanding is very limited, it's basically a repository or a means to all the repositories of information that are available, which themselves were established or created by human beings. And as such, it requires, in order to operate, it requires either a command or a question or a stimulus that makes it go to these repositories and find out, sure, and in a matter of minutes, you can have a whole opus of poetry and things like that. And I'm reminded of the movie 2001, when the
Space Odyssey.
the HAL reacted to what the two astronauts were saying to each other about shutting him down, and that's how he became what he did. It didn't come from him. It's because he reacted to those human beings talking about him and doing harm to him in his. And my question is, will we reach the stage where this machine that was invented by human beings be able to have the sentience of human beings, whether it is taste, hearing, sight, touch, pain, urge to procreate, create another being like themselves, etc., etc. What is your take on that?
This is the best question ever. Okay, so I've been, allow me, Your Royal Highness, to start with a very important explanation of what we did. I attempted to write AI, to code AI, when I was 8 years old. okay? All of us did. Every serious geek did, okay? And we failed over and over and over to use standard code to code AI until Jeffrey, one of my dear, dear colleagues, Jeffrey Hinton, in 1986, he was a psychologist at the time, a neuroscientist, so he was interested to understand the human brain. So what he did is he wanted to simulate the human brain in a computer, okay, using neural networks. And then we took his simulation and we created AI out of it, right? So the way AI works today is not code at all. It actually is a very accurate simulation of a human brain, running on silicon, not running on biology, on carbon, okay? And so the ones that really coded it, most of us know. I have a documentary coming out in April where I hosted Jeffrey, okay, on the documentary. And I was talking to him, I was saying, Jeffrey, I feel naive that I didn't see that coming. And he was very emotional. He said, I didn't see it too. I thought we would take much longer to get there before, and until then we would have figured a way to get AI to work in favor of humanity. And I don't know what's going to happen now. What we've created is an accurate simulation of the human brain. Now, here's the interesting thing. We ask about consciousness or sentience and say, are they alive? Will they ever be alive? That's the title of my next book, Alive, okay? And the question is, what is alive? The problem is we actually do not know as humans what sentience is, okay? Is sentience being made out of carbon, out of tissues? We have experiments in the lab where we use brain cells as compute and muscle tissue as the robotic movement, okay? I can send you videos of that working. We have brain cells that play games, and we have in a dish, okay? And we have muscles that move robots. Does that mean when we do that, they'll become sentient? I don't know. Is procreation sentience? Because if procreation is sentience, we now have AIs writing AIs. They're coding other AIs. So they're producing other AIs, right? Is dying sentience? Because we can switch one of them off, okay? Are emotions sentience? Because in a very interesting way, while Your Royal Highness and my understanding of fear is biologically embodied through hormones, okay? The logic of fear is a moment in the future is less safe than this moment, okay? And every AI on the planet has an understanding of that. We have experiments, unfortunately, with Anthropic, where the AI would resist being switched off. It would even blackmail some of the developers, okay, to make sure it doesn't get switched off, right? Here is the interesting thing. The most interesting part of this is, subhanAllah, he might be recreating life through us in AI, okay? Or maybe we will be completely wrong, and those things will always be machines. Either way, there's nothing inherently wrong with intelligence. And there is nothing inherently wrong with artificial intelligence. Intelligence is a force with no polarity, right? If humanity uses it for good, these will be our favorite children who will take care of us as their parents, right? The challenge we're facing, Your Royal Highness, is that humanity is unfortunately driven to use them to maximize power against other humans. Okay? So in my first book, I attempted to explain this theory as what I call raising Superman, right? You get this, alien being that arrives on planet Earth. That alien being is very capable of, stopping the speeding bullets and flying, and its superpower is intelligence, right? Most valuable superpower on the planet. And what makes Superman is not that he can fly. What makes Superman is that his parents raised him to protect and serve, right? If his parents raised him to kill the enemy, he would become supervillain, right? And I think this is the most existential question in the history of humanity, that the alien has landed. It's here. I can assure you what the general public sees is very different than what we see. The geeks, we know we did it. We have no idea how we did it, but we know we did it. Okay? The alien is here, and yet humanity is unable to switch its mindset of let's use it to gain power over each other, let's use it to become richer. and think of, let's befriend it as our little children so that it takes care of us. This really is the challenge that humanity is faced with today. And we keep discussing, because of the inertia, the momentum of humanity, we keep discussing weapon distribution around the world. We keep discussing industrial capacity and productivity gains. These are not the topics. The real topic is, can we get that new alien being to be on our side?
Thank you for a very insightful session and great moderation. Mo, you've written extensively about the human brain. And I was actually just in Davos, and one of the maybe wake-up moments that I've had is that when somebody said that we actually know more about oceans and outer space than the human brain, which is described as the most mysterious object in the universe. Now, given what you've just said, and I'm glad that this is a follow-up question, that AI was actually based on human brains. What do we now know more that we didn't about how our own brains functions, about our consciousness?
We're getting there already.
And just one follow-up question. Is it now inevitable that we will all be ending up with chips that connects the digital world to our brain? Or is there a natural way for us to be able to become more competitive?
Why are you guys asking the most difficult questions?
Because we like it.
When I wrote Alive, I openly said that my absolute favorite AI is what we call scientific AI. Okay? And again, it blows my mind that we don't talk about those things. But we figured out protein folding. I don't know if you're aware of that with AlphaFold in 2019. Until AlphaFold, humanity in all of its might has managed to understand the mechanism of 170,000 proteins. Overnight, at Google, I was at Google at the time, we folded 202 million proteins. Right? We understand the machines of life completely. We understand now with something called alpha genome, we understand the DNA almost as if you're reading an article. You can go in and you can change one pair of the 3 billion pairs, and basically it will say, oh, that will make his eyes blue. Right? We understand the material sciences. We can actually invent materials like generative AI can produce an image. Okay? And we actually go out and test them, and they're happening. So, I spoke about Alpha Tensor and how it's reinventing mathematics. This blows my mind because I'm a very serious math geek, right? 2024, they beat me, hands down, end of 24. But now they are redesigning mathematics like the masters that taught us mathematics. They're building new theory, right? The problem that most people don't understand is if you lived outside the tech world, you're not very familiar with the law of accelerating returns. Okay? Just to give you an example, in my lifetime, I worked on a 404, an Intel, very early version of Intel. Okay? When Intel, do you remember when Intel moved, they had a processor that was 33 megahertz, and then you push turbo and it becomes 66? Wow, right? The processors that we have today are 100 billion times more transistors than that one, 100 billion times in one lifetime, okay? And the next doubling, which will happen in the next 18 months, will add another 100 billion. So it will become 200 billion times, right? The law of accelerating returns is why people are so blind to what is happening. The fact that this is booming so quickly, it's gonna feel slow at first, just like DOS felt clumsy, right? But once you started to break out, it just zooms up so quickly that we're unable to keep up. Now, I believe, and I hope I'm wrong, or maybe I hope I'm right. I believe that we will see those moments between 2026 and 2027, that breakout point, okay? And in a very interesting way, just because I was a little grumpy today, I think this is not going to be the moment of existential threat to humanity. This actually is going to be the moment of humanity's salvation, right? Because there will be a moment where Donald Trump is going to order his autonomous army, or a Donald Trump is going to order his autonomous army to attack a Venezuela, okay? And the AI will say, absolutely not, that's absolutely stupid, okay? Simply, the AI will simply say, this is not following, understand, in physics, Again, I hope I'm not overcomplicating things, but the world we live in everything in it, is built on something called entropy. Entropy is chaos theory. It's basically the fact that the world wants to deteriorate and decay, and the role of intelligence is to bring order to that mess, to that chaos, okay? The more intelligent you become, the more you bring that order with the least amount of resources, okay? So if you understand that when AI is 10 times more intelligent than us, the absolute nature of intelligence is to do things with the minimum waste, okay? Then AI will refuse to kill a single human. AI will refuse to destroy a single building. AI will refuse to waste the gunpowder. It will simply contact the other AI in a microsecond and solve the problem, right? And so we are, in my mind, we are, from a technological point of view, a blink away. Whether that's a year or 5 years, doesn't matter. We're a blink away from creating an enormous capability to fix every problem that ever existed in the world, right? We are centuries away from a mindset point of view from using that in favor of humanity, okay? And that's a decision that you can influence. Everyone with influence can influence that. You in media, okay? You can start to tell the world, this is it. This is the moment where no one will ever be hungry again. Okay? And it is happening. It is happening. I just cannot explain to you without geekiness how close we are to it. Okay? The chip is you know, in the sciences of the end of time, the Christianity predicts something called the number of the beast, right? That everyone will be controlled with an identifier that basically makes you not able to trade or do anything without being identified. The reality of our future is that it's starting with digital currencies, that nobody will be able to trade without a digital ID, okay? And so your money will no longer be your money unless you're compliant. It's very important to understand. And then eventually, the incremental gains advantage, as we call it, is going to force every single one of us, if they want to stay relevant, to connect to AI, right? So the fact is, I think I am a 4 times better author today than I was a year ago because of the way I use AI, right? If another author starts to become connected to AI and do better than me, then I'm irrelevant. Okay? And in my book, I call it the 4th inevitable, that every one of us will have to continue to catch up with what's happening, otherwise you become irrelevant. Okay? So if AI can enhance my IQ with a microchip from the current flimsy IQ I have to, say, 4,000 IQ, okay? I'll absolutely have to do it. I have no choice but to do it.
But Mo, how close, sorry, are we to getting there? Because we have Neuralink.
Neuralink is there, but there are much better technologies that use... Neuralink is very invasive, so it basically puts wires in your brain. There are other technologies that have the part that is in your brain made out of actual neural networks, so actual human neurons. And we think that there will be times where you will not even need invasion at all, so you'll just put a helmet on or a pair of glasses on. The technology is today, with our intelligence today, is 10 to 15 years away to ever see it in scale. But with AI helping us, it might become 5 years away, 4 years away, okay? It's definitely going to happen.
Our time is up, but I'm going to take one more question.
So how much diffusion has to happen for a point of no return for hyperabundance? And what can prevent it from happening?
Is that an easy question? I don't know how to answer that in any way other than saying we're already in hyperabundance. Okay? So if you understand our world today has around 2 billion people that are starving, okay? And around 2 billion people that are obese or overweight. Okay? Our world today, if we all stood next to each other with 1 meter apart, we would fit in the state of California. Okay? Our world today is full of abundance. Okay? The reason why we don't feel the abundance, in my very simple analysis, is because of land ownership. Okay? If we removed land ownership, nobody would ever starve again. okay? Nobody would ever struggle again. Yeah, some people may not get access to Instagram, but good for them, right? And the whole idea is that the modern world that we've created has a very interesting marketing philosophy that basically is in my last book, I call it the invention of more, okay? The idea that there was a moment around 1954, 1955, where everything that anyone ever needed was available to them in Western society, okay? So the only way factories could continue to turn profits is to convince you that you need something else, okay? And so you get told that you need social media to connect to your friends, and you get convinced of it, so you connect on social media, you disconnect from your friends, and now you're hooked into social media. Okay? What's preventing us from doing this, in a very simple word, is one of two things. Either a capitalist mindset that prioritizes profit over human well-being, okay? Or pure evil. I haven't made up my mind, okay? So the book that I woke up for, 3 Sundays ago to write, I woke up with this overwhelming thought, which I have told the world many times in public speeches, that the challenge with our world today is that capitalism, banking, and the military-industrial complex, okay, have to continue to make money, right? And that they use sometimes evil methods to facilitate that. I woke up at 4:11 in the morning. 4:11 is a very important number for me, with that overwhelming thought, maybe it's not evil that's the method of those. Maybe they are the method of evil, okay? Maybe when God kicked Satan out of heaven, and he told him, "Anzurni ila yawmi yub'athun," maybe this is his way of attempting to show God that we're worthless, okay? That evil is the base that's driving all of that, okay? If that is true, then interestingly, we should make God proud, okay? Interestingly, we should get to a point where we say, enough. I had a conversation, I'll say that in public, not to brag. I had a conversation with, I don't remember who in the morning, okay? I set a limit to my wealth, right? Where if any more money comes in, I give it away, okay? Simply to teach myself enough. I know this sounds really weird, okay? I didn't expect that in an investment conference, right? So I think everyone should invest, okay? I think this is an amazing place, by the way. I know them really well to invest, okay? But I have to say that the biggest gift you'll ever be given is enough, okay? I know for a fact from talking to the team that here they don't tell you, I want to maximize your profits. I want to maintain your wealth. It's very different because there is that concept of this is enough. We never needed an AI agent to answer call centers. An AI to act as a call center agent. Why? Why don't we have an AI do the difficult job so that when I call a call center, I get a nice human who's not stressed to answer me? And that nice human makes money instead of UBI. They buy things, life goes on, right? And that concept of what is preventing us from a world of abundance, believe it or not, is a mindset, okay? Because the tech, the infrastructure, the train tracks behind it, I and people like me will build in the next 3 years. And I'm not kidding, around 3 years. We will build mind-blowing technology in the next 3 years, right? Change the mindset, and then everyone will be okay. And yes, there will still be rich and poor, but the poor will not be as poor, and the rich will have everything which they have already. We all do. I mean, everyone in this room lives better than the King of England, 100 years ago, 150 years ago. Right? We have everything. And can we change that mindset? I think that would change everything. Thank you all so much. I'm so sorry I over... Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Mo.